Three times the charm. Let's start again. Hello. Yeah, sorry, we have technical difficulties again today, like usual. I'm so sorry about that. And all our viewers just gone. They all gone. And yeah, we'll just do it for the recordings then. Sorry. And no, they're back.
Here.
They're
You
back.
have 7 of
Yeah,
them.
you're
Yes.
back.
Yes.
Can you say hi in the chat? Sorry, it's very frustrating whenever we have the technical difficulties, and I think it's especially difficult when we are not using StreamYard. We don't use that because we have to play a video today. And yeah, I don't know how, like it's still like it's like chicken and egg, like not chicken and egg, but like I don't know what do you say that in English, but like you can either have the video or you can either have StreamYard. And without StreamYard is easy. It's like, it's just, our video just go directly to the streaming. But uh, because we have to play the video, so then that's why we are here. And also talking about that, I haven't set up the video yet, so we'll see how it goes when it comes to that. I may have to do the scene change again, like switch it back to this scene at the beginning, and then we can come back and yeah. So I don't know.
I think
We will
what
see.
you're trying to say is that it's a Mexican standoff. It's like because you can't have everything at the same time. So you can either have this one or you can have this other vital thing. You cannot have the two of them at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know.
We'll manage. We
Yeah.
will manage.
Yeah, I hope we can manage. And yeah, I just don't know. Maybe next time we try to do something else. But yeah, okay. And I'm so bright as well. Sorry. Like we have meetings today, like before work meetings today before the program. That's why we are kind of like a bit out of like really like everywhere. And but it's in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week. So it's Wednesday, lunchtime. Like I think we both have had lunch before, and now we are ready to talk about Python. So I think what I would do is like normal. I would just share my screen.
Yes.
Okay, Discord is not a good idea. Like all these things are everywhere, like really like out of the place. So maybe we won't use Discord next time because it's just I can't even make this super big. Can you make this super big? Yeah, you can. Okay, I can hide our faces as well, but yeah, it's just very small.
Just hide my face.
No, like, well, we can do that, but yeah, it's very small. And yeah.
So Rocket Turner is saying that Discord is the best idea. Said only gamers, and you are a gamer, so that's why.
Well, we are gaming with Python, so I don't know whether that's legit. But yeah, so it's I don't know. We still have to find the optimal solution. So it's kind of like speed running. We have to find the optimal strategy. But anyway, so we got PyData Amsterdam that's coming soon. It's kind of like a online version of PyData Amsterdam. Gaming with Python. Yes, I know. Sockets. Yeah. Yes, it does.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's really a good one. Okay. And PyData Festival Amsterdam. Is it too small? Let me make it bigger. Try to. Yes. And
yeah, that's perfect.
yeah. So well, because of COVID-19, we don't have PyAmsterdam in Amsterdam, obviously, but we will still have fun online. We'll still have a festival online. So yeah, get your ticket. It's relatively cheap, I believe, because I think this is only like 16 euros. So individual passes is 30 euros instead of 300 or 200 normally, and co break passes. Yeah, so I think this is including some tutorials and stuff. I'm not sure. You have to really check. Okay, Lace, tell me.
So I spoke to yes. So I spoke with a few guys because I was talking to Vincent when the whole thing was being organized.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so we're talking about it. So apparently what happens is this. So you have the actual lineup, or like, so they didn't want to do a conference because there's way too many conferences going online now. Right. So they wanted to do like sessions in the morning that you could go to, and then something like a code sprint in the afternoon, and then the talks, like the keynote talks, the heavier talks in the evening throughout the week.
Yes.
So if you want to do just the talks in the morning and evening, then the ticket is 30 euros. But if you'd like to participate on the code sprints as well, then they put 15 euro on top of each one, and that's what the different prices. Um, I heard it's super cheap to sponsor. So if you guys use Python and use data science tools in general, they're sponsored by Noom Focus. I would really suggest you guys to maybe try and sponsor, because the sponsorship is not that expensive, and the lineup is unbelievably amazing. And Chuck is gonna be there now, so
Yeah, I will be there. I will be there. And yeah, so this is I think first of all the sponsorship is gonna be that very cheap, and it started next Monday, I believe. So it's the last chance to get it, and it's really like it's relatively cheap, like 30 euros compared to like I remember I've been to PyData, like I think the first year I have to pay for it. I can't somehow get free tickets afterwards because I was helping out, but the first year is like 200 pounds. So compared to that, 30 euros is relatively cheap, and you don't have to come here, you don't have to fly to Amsterdam, even though it's cool to fly to Amsterdam. But yeah, you still got the like very good, content. So yeah, consider that, and just check whether you and I think the best thing is to support non-focus. That's the best thing. I haven't checked their lineup, so I can't say for like whether they got good lines up or not. But have a look. I think they got really good topics this year. They talk about a little bit about diversity as well. That's what I know. So yeah, have a look. Have a look. And what else are we talking about here? I think this is Lay's as yeah, Lay's announcement as well. So
yeah, so I was looking for fun things to bring to the PyChat. And then I found out this lovely person that made a song and made actual music for the Zen of Python and used that as lyrics. So if you click on that YouTube, I mean, I don't know if it's a good idea
yeah,
for us to be playing
can we
music.
playing? Yeah, we can just play the like the 30 seconds. I think it's fine. But is it muted?
Okay.
Okay, let's try that. Oops. Yeah, I can't full screen
Yeah,
it.
but it's
Yeah.
it's okay. But it's basically a Zen of Python. It's the Zen of Python song,
Okay,
and
let
I
me
thought it was
skip
actually
ahead.
quite
Yeah.
cool.
Complex is better than complicated. Flat is better than nested.
Yeah, no, I don't think there is.
Yeah, okay.
No, I can't hear.
That's all I can play now. Yeah, of course, like you can't hear because yeah, only the audience can hear because the sound is from my computer, not through Discord but through OBS. So
Okay.
yeah, so yeah,
Okay. Well, I hope you guys could hear at least like maybe 10 seconds
yeah.
of
They
it,
they
and
hear
it's
like
actually
yeah
quite
they
cool.
hear like two sentence. So that's the sound of Python. That's true. That's correct. That's quite cool. And yeah, I think like now recently, like also my company make a Nicki Minaj,
Nice.
parodies database song. Is instead of super base, we have super database. So, um, yeah, so that's quite cool.
It's
So
beautiful, guys.
yeah, but I can't play it here now because that's Nicki Minaj song at the background. We just like replace all the lyrics to to something else. Yeah, you can look it up. I think like Super Database by Terminus DB. So yeah, we just this is what we do for work. Great, I love it. Okay, so
It's the best jobs in the world. Yes, absolutely.
yeah, like and I'm doing
Then,
these and at lunchtime as well, so which is good. Yeah, so we have PyOpenSci. Why is it not loading? I'll just open the link, I think. Yeah. So, uh, PyOpenSci had something today. There's a community call today. So, yeah. So the Nook is not here yet. I don't know why. But because it's Mountain Time, so it's not in our time. And
mm,
yeah. So, well, I will post the link and actually update. Oh, reschedule. No, it's next Monday. Yeah, this is next Monday for them. So yeah, so it's supposed to be today. And I think like if you really want to join, you can go to PyOpenSci's Twitter and found this tweet. and have a look. So yeah, that's just one
So
thing that I
it's
saw on Twitter.
so that's at 6 p.m. for British time.
Hmm.
And but tell me, what's on the actual meeting? Like, what's the theme of this one?
Well, I think it's it's a development supported for Python, open science tool. So I actually have never been, so I have no idea as you, and I don't know why the pictures are not loading. But but like PyOpenSci is like an organization that they are doing like open science and with with the also like is in the Python ecosystem. So yeah, if you're using like anything that is Python for science, academic kind of research things, I think it's interesting to have a look. So yeah, yeah, welcome to PyOpenSci. So
Cool.
yeah, yeah, so they
Perfect.
have community
Thank you.
meetings
Yeah,
and yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And then we have packaging guide
Oh, you didn't. Sorry,
for
Jack.
Chuck.
You didn't miss David's interview. It will be like on very very soon. Sorry, we are behind schedule because we have technical difficulties at the beginning. Sorry about that. So
Yes.
yeah, we just move on and get through all these like community announcements, and I think in like 3 minutes we will have the interview with David. So yeah, Python package guy. So yeah, this is a very good tutorial on DevTool that I kind of came across. So yeah, it's like absolute like beginner friendly because it kind of teach you how to set up all this file step by step, and how the files, this is an example of how to set up the file, what does all these things means, what to put in your init file. And oh, by the way, if you're using autoflick, make sure you put a hash no QA there, because like otherwise it will remove it, like what I did like earlier today. So yeah, make sure that you put it there. And yeah, so this is like a very good guy. I won't go through too much because yeah, in a meeting we know, because like we were in meeting before this as well. That's why like today is a little bit like out of the place when we are doing the streaming. Sorry about that. And okay, so we just moved on. So if you're interested, found this on DevTool is the packaging guy, Python packaging guy. Okay, so another thing is that PyData Dublin is asking for speaker. Also go to their Twitter. The link is there, and trust me, it's a lovely community. Lace and I has been there before, and we both love it. So of course, they're now doing meetings online, so you can do it wherever you are. A browser window is blurry. I think it's oh, I think it may be because of this Discord is lowering the resolution. Sorry about that. Like it's fine. We just need to go through this and we'll go to the interview. And yeah, and like you didn't miss much. I'm just like saying that if you have a talk you want to submit to Ladies Dublin, you can go to their Twitter, and this tweet is there. It's quite new. It's like it's just out like a few days ago, so you can submit your talk there. And yeah, so other things
Perfect.
that is um,
The, it's the same, the kind of the same thought as PyLadies Dublin, but then for Python Ireland. We really need some speakers. So if you'd like to submit a lightning talk, or if you have something that you'd like to share uh, with the internet in general, just send us a message. The link for this tweet is gonna be on Chuck's upload page, the video page, and there's a link there you can just click and you can submit a talk, like your proposition to give us a talk, and we'll be very grateful. So yeah, that's it for now. Now I
yeah,
think it's time for Mr. Flask,
yeah.
isn't it?
Give me a few seconds and I'll switch to Mr. Flask interview. Just give me a few seconds and chill it out. And oops, sorry. And oh, actually, I can't do it like that. So how can I do it? Okay. Okay. Let me do this by changing this um to the file itself. Okay. Right. Yeah. I think it's yes.
So, well,
Enjoy.
I have here with me today David Lord. Welcome, David.
Hello, nice to be here.
Yes, so David, you are the maintainer of the Flask library, like the Flask framework, right? And you're also a Python engineer. Would you like to introduce yourself to us then?
Yeah, I'm David Lord. Probably the thing I'm most known for is maintaining Flask, but I maintain all the palettes libraries, which are Flask, Jinja, Verxoid, Click, It's Dangerous, and Markup Safe. I'm also an organizer for San Diego Python. I actually just came from a Saturday meetup that we were doing. We do one every Saturday, so jump from one Zoom call to another. And I've been programming in Python for 10 years now, maybe.
Whoa.
And yeah, I don't know. Do you want to
Okay, perfect.
elaborate on anything?
So 10 years, that's a long time. And like when you started with Python, you started with you jumped right into Flask straight away, or you used to do a few other stuff?
No. So I started learning Python in college. So I think in like 2009 or 2010, I was working on an on-campus job over the summer, automating a bunch of like MySQL backups, and I was kind of bored with that. And I actually didn't pick up Python for the automation. I just thought like, I kind of want to make a website. And so I was looking at like how to make a website, and I found Python and Ruby. And I thought I could read Python better. It made more sense when I just looked at some examples. So I did the Django tutorial actually. I was a Django developer first.
Oh, that's awesome.
Flask didn't come out until 2010. So I think it hadn't come out yet when I first started learning. Python 3.3 was maybe out at the time, 3.4. I can't remember.
Think so yeah,
But that's what I started on.
Cool. So you started with Django then, and then you moved on to Flask.
Yeah, I used Django for like the last 2 years in college to do a bunch of projects, and then a couple projects when I first started working at my job. And then I was building this large system at work with Django to do all the security analysis stuff. And it started getting too slow for, now admittedly, this was probably halfway me just not knowing how to write a good web application at the time, but it started getting kind of slow, and it was hard to work around the way that Django kind of implied it wanted things to be done. And so I started looking, and I found Flask, switched the entire application over to Flask in a couple months and started learning that. And that was probably in like 2013 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a good couple of years before I started using Flask and everything.
Okay, but yeah, that sounds super cool, because like that's the thing. Like we had a Django maintainer here, Adam Johnson, giving us an interview as well last week, and that was one of the topics that we were discussing. That Django is a little bit more. The learning curve is a little bit steeper, so it takes a little bit more for beginners to learn how to use it, and Flask's a little bit more like easy for beginners.
I don't know. I don't know if that was my experience. I kind of agree with that in one way, but like I think Django was just as easy for me to use. It was more like Django. It wasn't that Django was hard. It was that Django implies certain structures and ways it wants you to do things. And when you want to start working outside of that, it doesn't matter if it's easy or hard. It matters if it enables that. And at the time, I think this was pre-Django 1.0. So I think it was still getting its legs and everything. And so it was harder to figure out like, how do I make Django do this? Whereas Flask, you can basically do anything with Flask, but you've got to put it all in there.
Yeah.
Just kind of approaching it from opposite directions, but you end up at the same place eventually.
Okay. Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, cool. Thank you. And then you mentioned as well the Palettes project, but then so it's the Palette community organization and then the Palettes project. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I'm trying. I don't think a lot of people still, even though Pallets has been around for 4 years or so now. I don't think a lot of people are familiar with the name, but Pallets is the organization, the open source organization. It's not like a company or anything that manages and maintains Flask and the other libraries that it uses. Um, and so the Pallets projects are Flask, Verkzeug, Jinja, Click, Markup Safe, and It's Dangerous. And so I'm a maintainer for all those, core maintainer. And then Pallets is also just kind of a community organization. The idea was that we never really, the original, maintainers of Flask never really set out to build a community for Flask.
Okay.
Unlike Django, again, Django is very community oriented and very organized around that. Flask never had that. I mean, it had a community, but it was very ad hoc. And so my goal with Pallets these past 5 years that I've been maintaining it has been to like grow the community. So I've been doing things like Pallets is part of the PSF. We're actually like a fiscal sponsor of them. So when you donate to Pallets, you actually donate through the PSF, and part of your donation goes to the PSF. They give us all their resources to help us with things. I've been trying to go to a bunch of conferences and develop, do community sprints with people, get more people involved, find more maintainers to bring on long term, which I've been somewhat successful at. And
That's the dream, isn't it? Like to
oh
get the
gosh.
community involved in the open source and then develop the perfect open source community. Yes.
Mm-hmm. My big goal right now is to run a official Pallets conference and organize that. That kind of got sidetracked. I wanted to do it this year, but conferences aren't really happening anymore right now, offline at least.
Yeah.
And then FlaskCon just happened to show up.
Exactly.
Fill
So
that
that was
void.
going to be my next question. Yeah. So you do want to tell us a little bit more about FlaskCon? I mean, I'm kind of biased, but yeah, I think you should have the word now.
Yeah, so I'm not actually an organizer. I just happened to be involved. Like the organizers reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to help review papers and or be involved in this?" So it's not an official conference, but it's what I've been using it as is just seeing how are people organizing. I've done a couple like small conferences or small like workshops with Django girls and stuff, but I've never really seen a conference being organized before. And so I'm kind of using this as like, hey, let's see how we can organize things and get people together online, and then use that as a template maybe for an in-person conference in the future, which I'm really excited for. But yeah, I'm also just really excited to see people talking about and using Flask more. I don't see that a lot. So as much as I work with it every day, I actually just like, I'm mostly looking at internals all day, and it's really hard to figure out like, oh, this application is using Flask behind the scenes. There's no way you can really tell that, except by seeing people give talks about it and say how they've used it and what they've learned. And,
Yeah, it's the
so
contact. Yeah, it's the contact with the community. Like there's nothing more valuable for a developer, the contact with the community and the feedback that they give about how they're using things. Yeah, I'm quite excited about that one as well. And everyone that I share with the whole concept of FlaskCon, everyone they're super excited about it. Always say their observation is mostly, well, it's amazing to see a conference using like with just focused on Flask because Flask is so great for everything. So yeah, we're all super excited to see what the proposals are going to come, what the talks are going to be. Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you. And then let me ask you, let me see. So what would you say that would be your favorite thing about Flask? Like is there anything that would say that it's absolutely perfect for, like it's beautiful and...
So that's hard to say. I mean, Flask can basically be used for most things. So I personally use it for pretty small websites. My company writes a lot of stuff for government basically turning spreadsheets into web applications, which is pretty much the most generic thing you can do with web applications. So I do a lot of just basic UIs, basic APIs, but it's really great for that. And what other things have I done with it?
Would that be your
Well,
favorite thing?
yeah, yeah. I don't really know what I would say is the best thing about Flask in terms of like what you use it for. I think other people are more inventive than me at coming up with those things. But
Okay.
in terms of what I like about Flask, I like its simplicity. Like the ability, like you said earlier, the ability to just dive in and start building something with it. I think that's really powerful. I think I hear from people a lot saying like, "Oh, I just built this entire application in a week." I just got finished watching some demos for for an intern program I'm taking. I'm kind of involved with called MLH Fellowship, and a bunch of teams had learned and built applications in Flask in 1 week as part of like an introduction thing, and then they're going to be contributing to Palettes projects and other things.
That's
Through,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, 1 week is like a very short learning curve. So yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, clearly you can keep learning much longer than that, but to just be able to get started that quick, I've been maintaining it for 5 years and I'm still learning things when I dig into the internals. Because you have to remember, like, I didn't write any of these libraries to begin with. I became a maintainer later. So when I became a maintainer, I was somewhat familiar with like kind of digging in and debugging things, but years later, I'm still like digging into Jinja, for example, and learning about lexers and parsers and compilers, because we compile our own syntax into Python behind the scenes, and stuff like that. And even Flask, like as simple as it is to use, behind the scenes, there's actually like some pretty clever stuff that's going on.
The
And
under
if
the
you
hood
know about that
things.
stuff, there's a lot of ways you can override it and extend it. I think that's the thing a lot of people don't know about to a large degree, and I'd like to promote more.
Wow, that sounds amazing. That sounds like a good dream to have, like you're building things. Yes, absolutely. Now let's go to the opposite direction then. So what would be the thing that you'd say that Flask is not really recommended for, like that you think that maybe another framework would do a better job? Maybe Django would do a better job.
Yeah, I definitely think of Django. When I think of Django, like I know you can build lots of things in it, but I always think about it seems like and I think it was first designed to be like focused on building blog kind of sites, where you have kind of different pages that you're presenting to end users. You're listing lots of stuff. Flask can do that obviously, but it's not set up to do that or anything else by default. You have to go plug things into it. There's a lot of extensions out there that can do these sorts of things. You can find something that will add an entire admin panel to your web application, or be able to set up a RESTful API. But Flash doesn't have any of that built in by design. I mean, I don't think we would ever build that in.
But it's extensible, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, it's extensible. I guess the thing you can't really do with it right now, I mean, you can do this. You have like things like Flask Socket IO, but there's not a lot of real-time stuff you can do. You can't do WebSockets unless you use Flask Socket IO and very specific programming or kind of extra patterns on top of Flask. So a lot of we get questions ever since async has become a thing in Python. They're asking like, oh, how can I do async def and decorate a view with that? And actually, in Flask 2.0, which soon TM, we will be supporting decorating async def functions, although we're not going to be fully async. But you will be able to write async code within a view and just have it run automatically, which will be cool. So we're getting there, slowly knocking out the last little pieces. I think one of the strengths though of Flask and the other libraries is that they're very stable at this point.
Yes.
It's hard to say they're not, they might not be good at something because they're not like, it's not built in, but they're not bad at anything, and there's not a lot of change at this point. Async is one of the biggest things out there, and once we're done with that, I don't know where we'll go next, but fixing things, I'm sure.
Well, there's always things to fix, absolutely. But it moves, like, in general, it moves everything moves quite fast as well. So, like, I'm sure there's going to be a new challenge soon enough.
Oh yeah, people keep discovering new ways, new bugs to report, new features to request all the time.
Cool. Well, thank you. And then, yeah, you mentioned San Diego Python. So you're the founder of San Diego Python, right?
Not the founder.
Okay.
Not by a long shot. I came into that probably around the time I was starting to switch from Django to Flask.
Okay.
I was kind of looking for a community to join at the time, and I just thought, oh well, I like Python. Maybe there's something in San Diego for that. And I met some really cool people who are big in the Python community, like Carol Willing and Trey Hunter. They're co-organizers down here, although they're not super involved in the day-to-day things anymore because they're off doing their own things. But
okay.
Yeah, I just started going to the meetups. San Diego is kind of unique in that we have a weekly meetup.
Okay.
It's not like a once a month. We have a once a month thing where people give lightning talks, but every single Saturday we have a 2-hour kind of just study group meetup where everybody just talks about whatever they're interested in, whether it's Python or programming news, and just hangs out for 2 hours. So that's what I became an organizer of that eventually, just because I was going to so many of those meetings.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I just came from.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because I'm part of Python Ireland, and Python Ireland has a monthly meetup. So we do every second Wednesday of the month. But yeah, that was going to be my next question for you, actually. So, like, how do you guys do the meetups? But that's so cool. But so how are you doing this then through COVID now? Like, how are you just doing like Zoom meetings where everyone joins?
Yeah, we're just doing Zoom meetings. The monthly meetups have gotten, we get pretty much the same attendance in Zoom that we were getting in person. So about 60 to 100 people for the monthly meetups, and then for the Saturday ones, even in person, it's always very dependent on what people are doing that weekend. So sometimes we'll have 5 people at a meeting, sometimes we'll have 25 people. But yeah, we just dial into a Zoom meeting and just all kind of chat for a while.
That's amazing.
It seemed to work out pretty well so far.
Yeah, but it sounds awesome, because like just the fact that you're doing a little bit of a little bit of dev talk that is not work related, and you're socializing as well. You're compliant with social distance, but you're still socializing.
Oh yeah, being able to talk to other people is a really great break from it all every week. So
yeah, especially now. Yeah, absolutely, totally understand. Then I think I'm gonna challenge you with this one. If a Flask was an animal, which animal do you think Flask would be?
Okay, so I've been thinking about this one for a little bit. I didn't really have a good answer at first. And then I started thinking about well, Flask was originally like an April Fool's joke, so maybe like kind of a weird animal, like a platypus or something, that's kind of like cobbled together from all these different, libraries and stuff. But the PyPI and packaging, their mascot is a platypus now, so I can't use that.
No.
So for some reason, I started thinking about birds. I don't really have a connection to it that much. Maybe they build stuff, they pull all this other stuff for their nest and build it. But the original author of Flask, Armin, he's from Austria, and their national bird is the barn swallow, I think.
Okay, I don't know that one.
So I was like, well, that seems appropriate. So I think I would go with a small bird like that.
Oh, it's adorable. I love it.
It's a pretty cool bird.
Yes. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you won this one. Fork tail and everything. I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I've been thinking of doing with donations we've received, from the community, is hiring somebody to do some new logos for all the projects. Right now, the old line art logos, like the Flask has the traditional horn flask, not a pepper.
Seriously? Do people think that that's a pepper?
Oh, people think it's a tooth, a pepper, like a horn. I mean, I guess technically it's a horn, but they don't. A lot of people don't think Flask first.
But it's on the name, like the beer is on the name.
Yeah, if you put the name next to it, but if you just see the logo, we're never
True.
quite sure.
True.
But yeah, I've been thinking of getting a designer to help me come up with some new logos for all 6 projects and kind of a more cohesive design for them all. So maybe I'll have them incorporate some birds into it.
I love that idea. And then you can make like a bunch of birds that all like are part of the Palace project. Yes. So you have all like different logos with different birds and they all came from your head. I love that idea. Absolutely. And so let's see. Then yes. So doing a little bit of research around, I found out that you have a Flask Gold badge, right, on Stack Overflow.
Yeah.
How does one
Flask,
get that? Like,
yeah. So I've been on Stack Overflow for pretty much the entire time I've been learning Python. So I think I'm at like 9 years, 10 months right now. I have an unbroken record. You can, if you go into your profile, you can't see it like on the public profile, but I think I have like 1,988 days consecutively visiting the site. Right now, I'm thinking of stopping when I hit 2,000 because honestly,
you're thinking, okay.
I don't contribute that much anymore. But yeah, when I was learning, especially when I was learning Python and I was learning Flask, I never asked questions on Stack Overflow, but because I really never had questions I needed answered from Stack Overflow, but I started finding other people asking questions and realizing like, oh, I know the answers to these things. I can, and I think it really helped me over time, like develop my technical writing skills. If I go back and look at like some of my really old answers that I haven't deleted, they're not as good as my newer answers. But, so yeah, like I just answered a ton of questions, and I have a gold badge in Python, Flask, and SQL Alchemy, which means I can unilaterally close things as duplicates and do some other cool things.
Yes.
But yeah, I just answered a ton of questions. I actually didn't answer that many Python questions. I just started focusing purely on Flask and SQL Alchemy to some degree. And just over time, people voted on stuff and thought I was answering useful things. So
I'm so jealous. So jealous.
yeah, it's really interesting. I was really passionate about Stack Overflow for a long time, and I still think it's a good resource, but I don't find myself answering questions anymore. It's very hard to find novel questions on there anymore. Like I definitely understand that people run into the same problems all the time, but it seems like Stack Overflow hasn't really been able to show the existing answers to those users well enough. They haven't made that discoverable enough somehow. So a lot of the time I find myself pointing people at existing answers rather than answering anything interesting. I think I usually go a couple months between finding like, oh, here's a good question. Now I can answer this one. So it's been a while since my last one, but I'm also a room owner of the, people don't know this, but there's a whole chat system on Stack Overflow also. So I'm one of the room owners of the Python chat room.
I saw that because I tried, like, I found your profile and it was like, there was a link there of chat to this person. I was like, wait a second, what? Like, I can go and chat to someone on Stack Overflow? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's mostly how I'm involved, and I'm not the only room owner of that, so I mostly am kind of behind the scenes nowadays, saying like we have a website called SOPython, stackoverflowpython.com. It's a Flask application behind the scenes, and we kind of have our own curated question and answer collection of stuff that we've, if you go to sopython.com/canon, CANON,
Mm-hmm.
these are all the canonical questions that we've kind of keep answering over and over again. And we collect like the canonical answers for all of them there. It's all written in Flask. So I maintain that website. That's actually one of the first Flask applications I ever wrote, was this website. And this is how I became one of the owners of the Python chat room. I rewrote their site that it was like a static site before into this application.
Cool. That is awesome. Yeah, I will put the link on the description of the video for if anyone, for everyone that wants to go there and have a look. Your first Flask project, like that sounds super exciting. I will have a look at first.
It doesn't do a lot of advertising or anything, but we get we get close to like 5,000 or 6,000 hits a month, which not too much, but people are using it, people are finding it, I guess. But,
if there's no advertisement and you're getting those numbers like organically, then it is big. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us as well. That's awesome. Thank you. And then, well, as the last question, it's going to be a question about your very unusual hobbies. So we have scuba diving, frisbee, and quadcopter photography. I actually had to Google that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't do any professional photography, but I do. I like flying my quadcopter. I have a little DJI Mavic. And, go out to the beaches here in San Diego and take cool pictures of the cliffs and everything.
Do you put those pictures anywhere?
Not for the most part. You can find some like I have like personal business cards I hand out at PyCon and those sorts of things, and on the back of them, there's different photographs I've taken, which is always, so they're collectible. You got to come meet me in person to see them.
Oh, damn it. Okay, yeah, COVID is almost over, so don't you worry.
Yeah. At some point, people start collecting them again.
Well, you're telling them now, so. And yeah, so I mean, they're pretty unusual hobbies. They're super cool. But like, do you have any story? Like, do you think they helped you in any way with like anything in life? Do you have any story that you'd like to share with us? Like,
I don't know if I have anything that like relates to programming or Flask, but I try to have hobbies that get me out of the chair. Like I like video games and and reading and that sort of stuff too. But I like stuff that takes me outside. Gets me to walk to the beach for no other reason than to like fly a drone or just walk along the cliffs or go scuba diving. There's I haven't been scuba diving in quite a while. I need to get back out there, but there's some like great places in La Jolla, the whole kelp forest. Just getting to do something that's not programming all day, because I do quite a lot of programming all day. I would do it for work, and then I come home and maintain all these projects and juggle all that stuff.
Yeah,
Frisbee,
you're pretty
I did
active.
all through college. I joined like immediately when I joined college. I got recruited immediately because I'm tall. You can catch things there.
I couldn't tell. Like, you're sitting down. I couldn't tell.
So I've got all, nowadays I just kind of throw with some friends every now and then. I have all sorts of crazy throws that I can do, but I don't really run around that much anymore. But yeah, it's a good way to just have a community that's outside the programming community or intersects with it. I mean, I've found people who throw frisbees or scuba dive or have like flying quadcopters in Python as well. So
yeah, that sounds super cool. And okay, I think I'm gonna squeeze another question because now you got me curious. So the last one then, for newbies, for people that are just starting, not only on Python but in Flask and on programming in general, what would be your advice for them, like on like how would they what would be the ideal mind frame that they should start investing on it? And also, what would be your advice on, like, your life advice for them? So like you're just saying about hobbies that take you out of the chair. So would that be something that you would advise them to do
Oh, sure,
if they
absolutely.
want to be, if they want to have a career as a software developer or whatever it is that they decide to do?
Yeah, it's always really hard for me to answer this question. You know, people will ask like, well, how did you learn Python? And the way I learned Python was I just picked up Dive into Python and read it. And then I did a project in Django and you just followed their tutorial. I didn't really like study a lot, or I just started doing. But I've been programming since I was in second grade, so it's not like it was something new to pick up to me. I don't really have the perspective of like, I don't have any basis for this at all. How do I start learning? If that makes any sense.
Yes.
Um, so I do have some books like, like Dive into Python is something I can recommend. Just like looking at the official sources for things has been really helpful to me. When I was first learning Python, I literally just, I was bored over the summer. So I just every day at my job picked the next module in the list of Python modules in the docs and just read through the docs about it. I don't remember it all, but I have this like index in my head now of like every single thing that Python can do. So whenever like I think like, oh, what do I need? Oh, I'm sure I read that in the Python docs. Okay, I'll go, search for it. I think I don't know how unique that is to me, or I don't know how useful that is as a learning style to other people. But just like I think that applies to the Flask docs as well. Though there's so much information in those docs. That's not technical. It's like prose. It's written from the perspective of somebody just like kind of walking through a topic. That's how I learn personally. I just read a lot.
Okay, that's pretty fair. Yeah, that's a great advice as well.
I don't really like watch videos or anything like that too much, or at least for learning. I watch people live stream and that sort of thing, just to interact with the community. But
the cool
I
talks at
think
PyCon, yeah.
I think my advice for people would be just like pick a project. Don't pick like, massively multiplayer online RPG or something like that, but like pick something that's interesting to you. If you're interested in quadcopter photography, maybe make a site that lets you upload a photo and displays photos, but just like pick something that's actually related to something you're already familiar with and start applying what you're reading to that. Have something that and something that you're learning. That's kind of the projects that I did at first also, and that helped me.
That's a great advice. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
You. And then to be sustainable on the career, if they decide to go on that career as a developer, what would you suggest?
In terms of what? Like finding a job?
No, in terms of actually keep programming and keep loving it, and like being able, because you contribute in so many different ways to so many things. It's kind of like the version of my question is kind of like the version of how do you do it?
Yeah, well, I guess my advice in that regard is don't be me. I maintain way too many projects, and I don't know how I do it sometimes.
Okay.
I've got the 6 palettes projects plus like the 3, like a bunch of the extensions. I think in total I'm like a maintainer of 12 or 13 different projects. So
my goodness. Well, so thank you so much for donating your time.
Asking like, oh, why hasn't this been released yet? It's because I just finished working on that, and now I'm like working on this thing and then this thing and this thing. And
yeah, guys. Yeah, please be
there eventually. But.
Yeah, community, please be nice to the maintainers because they're very busy people.
Yeah, but in terms of like jobs and stuff, this is another one where I have a really hard time answering because I've only had one job ever. Well, I mean, I had a student job, but I've worked at the same place since I graduated for 9 years now. So
that's really unusual as well.
I think that's a little unusual, yeah, in the software community at least.
Yeah.
But, I've definitely like built up my skills. I haven't just stayed stagnant for 9 years. So it's more like what I focus on in my job is, how can I learn this new thing and start applying it? I really encourage the new junior devs I mentor to learn these new technologies. We're actually like, my company was a Java company when I started working there. I was the first person to bring in Python and say like, hey, look, we can write this thing in Django faster than we were doing it before, and we can maintain it better. And so I just started like getting involved, like learning things and then taking them and saying like, look, we can use this. And then I started following the community more, the Python community. The more I started following people on Twitter or listening to people talk at conferences, you start getting this broader perspective than you just have as yourself learning something. Like I was not really involved in the community at all until like 3 years into when I start, like after I started learning Python. I was just doing it on my own. And so as I started getting all these perspectives, I started realizing like, oh, just because I had like a really easy interview process doesn't mean everybody has an easy interview process. How can I make our interviews better? And so like I improved our interview process at our company, and we don't do whiteboards anymore, for example.
Listen to this, Google.
But yeah, so like just finding more perspectives and then not keeping them to myself, but like trying to say like, hey, we can do this, we can make ourselves better by like doing all these other things, is what helped me in my job.
That's amazing. That's really awesome, because that's just applying what you learn, and that's what the word should be all about. It's not about learning things and then reading the book and then leaving the knowledge there. It's about applying that, because that's what brings the word forward.
Mm-hmm. And I've been really fortunate. Like the company I work at, I've gotten a lot of latitude over the years to do new things, but I also like the work we do and the projects I get to run and all that sort of stuff. So I definitely found a place that really worked well for me,
Wow.
which is why I haven't moved anywhere else.
So yeah, maybe that's what the other companies need to do as well. Is like be nicer to their I mean, yeah, no, maybe just you're a unique employee and that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to. I think it's hard to give an exact answer for other people. I have my specific circumstances, and I can give general advice, but everybody will find that one thing they're good at, and that one way to improve the company.
Yes, true. Well, those were great advice. Thank you so much for donating your time, for being here with us today. Thank you for all your work for open source, for community. Thank you for your Python work as well. Thank you for...
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was nice to chat. I'm looking forward to seeing the episode. I was watching a couple of the older ones, and they're pretty interesting. So,
what's your favorite so far?
Well, the last one, the one that's stuck with me right now, is your interview with Adam last week. So that's, I had to see what the competition was saying. What's Django saying?
We missed the opportunity. We should have the four of us all together in a room, talking about Flask and Django and Python and...
Yeah, get people from Pyramid, get people from Falcon and Sanic, and get Core, get all the frameworks in a room together.
We're gonna do like
I
a
always
big...
have to say, because I get the question every now and then, like, well, Flask is obviously the better one, right? And I'm like, no, I'm friends with all the frameworks. You can do good things in all of them, and I think they're all like, they all have different ideas that are very complementary sometimes.
A very diplomatic answer.
That's what I'm interested in seeing, is a roundtable with all the framework people.
Of course. Perfect. Challenge accepted. We'll get that done then. Very good. Well, thank you again. Thank you very, very much. It was a pleasure. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. And well, enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we are going through a few technical issues again. It's all right. It's just a Wednesday. So what I'm going to try to do then is share my screen with you guys and see if we can talk about PyPI moment. Let me just find the right screen. Just 1 second. I think Chuck might be coming back. I don't know which screen it is. There we go. And there. Perfect. Now I don't have my comments, the chat page on anywhere, so I can't see the comments. So maybe give me a tiny second. I just need to do a cool. Perfect. So here we go. So this is Chuck's library. It seems like it's a photo to cartoon library. So they used this program, so this website, I think. Yeah, this is Chuck's library, so I'm not really sure, but let's try. And yeah, it seems like this is the application for it. So basically, you would input a picture over here, so local update or with the URL, and the output would be yourself looking as a cartoon. Super cool, because I really want to have a cartoon made of my face. I just couldn't be able to, just wasn't able to afford it just yet. But I thought this was super cool. And here's the actual library. So the photo to cartoon library. Oh, it's Chinese. Okay. Well, there is the English version here on the site. And I use the Google Translate tool, so you can just open Google Translate and then copy the URL, paste the URL there, and then open that URL. And yeah, that's gonna open. So you're telling me go to face alignment. That's the library. Perfect. So I think this is it then. Or maybe is there something I'm not showing, Chuck? I'm not sure. Here we go. So there's a few Q&A. Cool. Perfect. So that's the library over there. Face alignment is the name of the library. Very cool. Yeah, true. You posted that. I'm sorry. I get it. Okay, so they use that those features on face alignment with that bit of code to then make the cartoon. Okay, yeah, that's super cool. So the library is face alignment, and then that was used to do the stuff that was shown on the other page. Ooh, I wonder if it's super easy to use. Like, did you used to do anything, Chuck? We're doing a chat on the comments, so just keep an eye on the comments, guys. Okay, so and then my library, the library that I found today, is this one called Data Shatter. So basically, what Data Shatter is it's part of the HoloViz family. So it's another series of packages that include HoloViews and HVplot. So it's basically a data science family of libraries, and it's used to create representation of large data sets. So there's this Medium post that I put it, posting the link right now on Twitch. And the name of the post is 3.6 million data points forming one GIF. And this library was used to join those 3.6 million data points and make this one image. So it uses a technique called rasterizing, that it seems like it's breaking a plot into pixels and then plotting that area and aggregating the value of the points that fall in each pixel. So that's the reason why you get so much finery on the imaging of this. And then the pixels I shaded according to the aggregated value that they have it from before. So it's very fine image, and the fact that you can create GIFs. I mean, the fact I found this through the post showing how to create a big data GIF, and I thought that was a quite interesting idea, especially because you can render maps on it, like loads and loads and loads of data, and just create an image. And yeah, I think it's quite cool. Perfect. So I think this is it. I think this is Meet Pie for this Wednesday. Thank you very much for everyone that joined us. Thank you for everyone in the chat. It was so much fun. And we are working through the technical difficulties, guys. I'm really sorry. I know that Chuck is sorry as well. But we're almost there, making this absolutely perfect and fluid. And it's the best time of our weeks anyway. So yeah, thank you very much, and well, enjoy the rest of your week. Bye bye. Thanks for joining. Yes. Bye 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 bye.